Alright, good morning. This is Lucky Lynx, and I have a video here that I'm doing it's specifically centered on, make sure I get it all in the picture here. This is the Dishonored Tarot. It's going to make a point that I've been trying to make about how to read, you know, especially if you've got an unusual tarot deck can teach you a lot. This actually, I found this in a bookstore, I don't know, for like last year. It came with a video game, evidently. I didn't know it. I found it was used. I picked it up. I connected with it immediately. That night I started in some of my psychic groups on Facebook that I run. I run 3 of them. I started doing readings for people with it just because I wanted to see how this thing worked. Because it's different than a normal tarot deck. It's got skulls, swords, guns and rats. Okay, so there's guns, and then there's rats, and it sort of matches my style, I think, so I really liked it. And but here's the thing, you know, there's cards in here that are not in a regular tarot deck. Like this is the Weeper. Number 2 is Lust. They're really shiny, so they're hard to film. I mean, they're super shiny. And then there's like the twins. This is the one I fell in love with. This is the one I split to when I opened it. That's how I knew it was like meant for me. I knew immediately how to read this thing. Cups the skulls are there's no instructions with it, by the way. It comes with no instructions. This is just it. And I noticed there's threads online of people, they don't know how to use it. It doesn't correspond to a regular tarot deck. See, like regret. What would normally be strength is regret. There's the artist. Is number 12. 15 is nobility, which would normally be, right, the devil. So here, so I had to figure it out. So rats are cups. Coins, swords, and then you got your rods or wands, right? Then you got commoners, and you got queens, and you got kings, and you got jacks. Okay, and you know, there's some cards correspond, like the world. The world is in here. It's a map of the world. And then, but you know, like say for example, the magician, number 1 is actually judgment. It's a little girl here. She's a little girl in the game. Well, they're all characters from the game. Judgment, and that's number 1. Okay, so here's the thing. And then you got the lady here. And then the man on stilts. This is number 3, which would normally be what? You know, the Empress, but this is the man on stilts. So here's the thing, is that, you know, people are always talking about how you have to be a classical reader and follow classical meanings, which means that I would have to throw this in the garbage because it has no instructions, and people are baffled on how to use it. And the reason that I'm doing this is because people keep writing me about this deck. They're like, what's this deck that you use? And oh my god, what is that? And you know, so it's not the deck that's important, it's the person reading it. If you know what you're doing, you can read anything. Okay? So like here's the Urchin Prince, number 9, right? Which would normally be the shaman, or the so here's the thing. This is what I did. I fell in love with the thing. I said, this is awesome. The world. This is awesome. I'm gonna make this sucker work. And so I started practicing with it that night, and I was in my psychic group, and I started offering quick readings for people just because I wanted to see what the qualities were. This is how you do it. You use curiosity and experimentation, and you figure out the qualities of something are and how it works. What I discovered is this works as a combination of tarot and playing cards, both of which I'm very familiar with. For example, the 5s. When the 5s in this deck come up, it indicates a good change. as opposed to in the tarot, usually when the 5s come up, it's usually, I'm not usually happy when I see a 5 and the tarot comes up. But in this one, like for example, when the five of skulls comes up, it means, you know, you're going to have a new understanding. And the only way I could figure that out was to start reading with these things. So what I do is, what I noticed is that I sort of feel my way through what's going on with the numbers, and they're a combination of, depending upon what my intuition tells me, either playing cards and or a regular tarot deck. And then everything else represents people. So, or emotional situations. So like, for example, when cruelty comes up, it's usually because someone's being cruel. Or they're being cruel to themselves. Or so the point is that I took this deck and I started playing with it to see what its qualities are. And the only way to find out what its qualities are to use it on some, you know, people and see what comes up. So what I'm telling you is that, you know, no one had a book on this. No one could tell me how to use this. I have experience with traditional tarot and playing card reading. However, this is my point. If you really want to learn something, practice, play with it, see what it tells you, observe what its qualities are. I experimented with it. I looked at what situations it came up in. And I, like for example, when a jack comes up, it's usually good news. Or in this case, it might be unfortunate news. These are kinds of people. The kings and the queens, or they represent qualities. Like for example, this is just like a playing card. When this one comes up, I know a person's value. How they view themselves. The Queen of the Skulls. I know this corresponds to the Queen of Diamonds. Diamonds? Clubs. Person understanding their own value. It's like a cross between. It's like a cross between the Queen of Clubs and the Queen of Coins. So when this comes up, I know it's a person's value that they're dealing with. I know skulls have to do with value. And then, for example, there's other tricks in here that I learned. Like, for example, when the 9 of Skulls comes up, it represents a person's secret wish. And then when the 9 of Rats comes up, it represents a person's overt wish, or the wish that they've been making. Comes to fruition. But when the 9 of Skulls comes up, it represents a person's secret wish. Okay, so my point is that you can read anything you choose by experimenting and observing what you know, how it operates in a situation. Learn what the qualities of it are. People are trying to make correspondences between this and the regular tarot, but this doesn't correspond. Judgment doesn't correspond to the what do you call it? To the Magician. And then there's an Empress in here, but it doesn't quite match the Empress. It sometimes does. Sometimes it comes up meaning the Empress, but she's number 18 here. Or 19, I'm sorry. She's 19 here. But it doesn't quite correspond to the Empress in the tarot, though I have seen it come up as people's mothers. Usually the Lord Regent comes up as authority. He's in here somewhere. Or how someone's dealing with authority. Commoners sometimes come up as common behavior, or people who are acting in a way that is not worthy of humans. So that's it. That's so it is sort of a combination or a cross between, somewhere between playing cards and tarot cards. I love it. It's one of my favorite decks. It's very hard to get, evidently, because it came as a bonus with a video game, and when you do order it, it's evidently very expensive. But it fell into my lap, and but that's how these things work. And I've been using it ever since. It is, like I said, one of my favorite decks, if not my favorite deck these days. And you can do this yourself with any tarot deck. So if there's a deck that you like, that you want to work with, that maybe looks a little unusual, you start to play with it, see what the qualities are, see what situations it comes up with. Notice what's taking your attention, when it's taking your attention, and also listen to your intuition. okay? Because there's the only way that you're going to do this is if you listen to your intuition. The cards are not the thing. People are so hung up on the cards being the answer, and the cards have it all in them. They don't. The cards are just a freaking mirror. This is just a tool to access your subconscious and your subconscious language. That's all this is. Stop making it so crazy mystical. If anyone actually understands the way the mind works, or hypnosis, or how that stuff, you will start to see the correspondences between how this stuff works and extrasensory perception. And I'm really tired of this whole spirit speaks through me. It's not. It's your subconscious talking. And I'm not saying that there isn't spirit out there. There aren't beings out there. I am a student of Tibetan Bond. There are at least 10,000 varieties of demons that will convince you that they are your dead relative, according to traditional Tibetan belief. And if you want to know what happens to a person when they die, according to traditional Tibetan belief, read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and you'll see that they're not hanging around in that cosmology. They're not hanging around waiting to talk to you. So what I'm saying is, try first to see what your own language is in relation to your subconscious, what your subconscious language is, and how this can help you access it. You will have so much success if you do that before you start laying everything else on top of it. Look at it as though it's extrasensory perception and accessing your sixth sense, and how this perception helps you order your experience. Because then what happens, if you understand how you order your experience, you'll actually start to be able to use the cards to help you change your experience, because you'll start to learn what that inner part of that core self, the two minds, the mammalian brain and the reptilian brain, are trying to tell you. Because those are the real you. Those are the core you. And your critical mind is always getting in the way of that. Well, these are just a tool to help you get to those deeper brains. I'm Lucky Lynx. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Put them in the thing below. Otherwise, go out and get yourself a deck that you like, that you've never used before, that you don't know anything about, and start playing with it, and start learning the qualities of it, and see how it operates in certain situations, and observe, record, and take a very practical approach to it, and you will be amazed at what happens to your abilities. You will be able to read any oracle anytime, in any situation, because you'll be able to look at it and go, oh, I see what the patterns are. Look for the patterns, and the patterns will tell you what it is your subconscious is trying to tell you, and then you will get right off that person that you're reading. You'll be able to lift right off that person what's going on. So, wishing you success and good fortune in all you do. You guys have a fantastic week.